Well, greetings, everyone, wherever you are, whatever time it is. This is our weekly WeAwake group meditation where we come together online all over the world and listen to one of the tracks that we've been creating over the years for iAwake. That's what we do. We create brain entrainment uh, audio tools to help us, well, firstly, to meditate in a deep way, and for other things too, to release stress, to inspire our minds, to focus. I mean, it does many different things it does. But it does actually entrain the brain to the desired brainwave state. The science is very solid. And if you're interested, you can get the iAwake app, and it has a discussion by, I forget her name right now, a woman who did her dissertation on brain entrainment technology, and and from got all these different. It's been researched a whole bunch and brought it all together, and almost 80% of them are very positive, and a few of them weren't. They didn't say anything, and what the problem was when we look back at it is because they were only like doing it for like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and that's not long enough for the brain to get entrained. It takes at least 10 minutes for the technology to start kicking in. So, given that, yeah, the findings were very powerful, and she used our technology in her dissertation research. So, if you're interested in that, but that's not what I want to talk about today. Um, I'm going to talk about Viktor Frankl and his most famous book, The Man's Search for Meaning. And he was also the founder of logotherapy. And logo is active intelligence. It goes back to, if you're familiar with the Bible, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Well, in the original Greek, it didn't say the word, it said logos. So logos therapy. And a very interesting guy. He was Jewish, psychiatrist. Um, and he was from Vienna and was caught up in and was taken to Dachau and sent to a work camp, I guess, where they just work people to death. And he survived, and he came out and he said that the one thing that he saw, well, some people would just lose despair, just give up, and they would just pass. And the ones that survived um, seemed to have some purpose, some meaning in their life. Okay, and he was called his logo therapy is called the third school of Viennese psychotherapy. Number one being Sigmund Freud, and his thing, it's all about pleasure. That's what the motivation, pleasure, sex, that's what keeps us going. And the second one was Victor Adler, and he said it's what really the drive is power. And then Viktor Frankl came along and said, no, it's about meaning. And they had a squabble, and had been in Adler's group, but they kicked him out because he was getting off track with his meaning thing. And the truth is, they're all true. Just depends what developmental level you're at. Okay. You don't start, I mean, if we study the developmental levels, it starts very primitive, very survival oriented, and goes up through kind of tribal shamanism and into blue, which is it's color coded. In some versions is kind of the fundamentalist, conservative values on churches and Islam and Judaism. They're all represented there. And then you get to orange, which is modernity, where we start, wow, it's all about being successful and, winning the game and being smart and creating stuff and this stuff. It's all good stuff. It's all good, but each of it has its downfall. Then later, after that, the postmodern is where I think meaning becomes much more important. And usually, when that kicks in, is when like everything's kind of going good, and then it's not going good anymore. The things that brought you pleasure before just don't do it for you anymore, and you're like, you know, what am I here for? There's got to be something more than just going out and thinking love and or having a bunch of money in the bank and all that stuff. I did that, but I'm not satisfied, and I'm a very powerful person, and it just seems empty. So at that point, uh, the search for meaning and purpose in life becomes very essential, existentially essential. Otherwise, you just, it's purposeless. Who wants to hang around here with all, all the suffering and all the bad stuff that happens and good stuff, but there's no purpose to it. That's a very empty place. So he said the search for meaning, and when he was a psychotherapist also, and he would work with people who were having all kinds of trauma. I mean, obviously coming through Nazi Germany as a Jew, or anybody in Nazi Germany, was traumatic. But he would help people to answer these large questions in life. And when we could come up with that answer, your life kind of has direction and purpose and meaning, and you can go through it and do almost everything. So, that was the first book I ever read, serious book on psychology, was Man's Search for Meaning by Frankl, and it just blew me away. Wow, that's what I'm talking about, because I was a young guy looking to find what he was supposed to be doing in the world, and that it was his work that actually got me to go to grad school and study psychology. So very, very important to me. And later on, I helped found wilderness programs, and one particular one, it's called Passes to Recovery. It was for young men and women who were struggling with alcohol and drugs and addiction. And we'd go out in the wilderness and spend 8, 10, 12 weeks, whatever it was. I mean, each individual would stay as long as it kind of needed to. But at the end of the program, when they're getting ready to graduate, they would have a vision quest, okay, based on Native American vision quest. And we'd go out, find a sacred place, and I'd say, find a good place to die. And they go, what? I don't want to die. No, find some place, because through this process of initiation, something is going to die in you and something else is going to be reborn. And if you want to stay sober, and lead that life, well, why stay sober? What's the purpose? Well, because I feel called to do something more in my life. I feel called to become a doctor, or I want to have a family. My purpose for staying sober is my love for my family already. So it would help them to really put that together, and not easy out there alone 3 days and fasting by yourself. And but I don't think I had anybody, except for the first group of never-do-wells that we had out there in the experimental phase, that ever refused to do the vision quest. By the time they were that part of, and they were looking forward to it. They wanted to challenge themselves. And I would start feeding them a little bit about it. I wrote a song about vision quest, and I'd sing and play these, songs that I've written, and that start, and it's like, well, you're not ready for a vision quest. I think I am too. I'm ready. So they really got fire in the belly, and it really helped. And it's been my search, and it doesn't always happen just ding. Sometimes it might, this is what you're supposed to do. Like, I don't know. I was going to say Jesus in the wilderness, but who knows? Like, you find that purpose. And often when you're finding your purpose, it's kind of like you're a detective, you're investigating, you have this dream, when you're a kid, the reoccurring dream, and it really impressed you. And then you read this book and you talk to this person and you go along, and then it starts to become clear as we walk the path of our lives. So all that said, we're listening to VisionQuest track 1. It's 30 minutes, and it was designed to help us go into these deep, meditative, visionary states. So even if you know what your life purpose is and what the meaning is of your life, it doesn't hurt to have it reaffirmed, because there's always more there. I mean, the journey never ends. The soul keeps going. So let that be the medicine question that we take to this meditation, where it's like, calm down in the center, focus on your breath, focus on your heart, good, and just say that prayer. It's like, please, Great Spirit, Lord, however you want to say that, mystery, agnostic, please, I don't know what, help me have a vision, help me to clarify that what I'm here to do. and what gives my life purpose and meaning, and what is the meaning of life. It can be general, humans are here to do such, or it can be also very important is your personal sense of meaning and direction. So I think that's a lot. And shall we rock and roll? Well, welcome back. That's a very powerful track. Um, VisionQuest. There's two tracks in the album, and they're both 30 minutes, and they're both very, very good. Um, and I finished a little early just watching, feeling your space and faces while you were meditating. It's quite a beautiful experience. So thank you for that. And yeah, getting back to what we we're originally talking about, meaning and purpose. And there's a story that I like. Forgive me if you've heard it before. I've used it over the years in speaking, teaching, writing, etc. And the story of this young man who wants to know what the meaning of life is. And so he hears there's a holy man way up in the mountains that could tell him. And but it's a very hard journey to climb the mountains. Think of the Lord of the Rings when they're getting to the place where they're going to get rid of the ring, just that kind of struggle and climbing. And he gets to this cave and he finds this old master who is there. Master, I come to ask you what the meaning of life is. He said, well, it's rather simple. There is only God, and thou art that. What? That's ridiculous. Well, thank you. Maybe I made a mistake there. So he goes back and he keeps searching, and finally he finds in the city that there's a famous guru who lives in this, palace of huge compounds, and he has to wait in line over, a lot of people. Everybody wants to talk to this guy and have their moment with him. So he gets there and he says, Master, I want to know the meaning of life. And Master says, you need to do some stuff first. We have this huge stable where people come and they bring their camels and horses or whatever they're bringing. And you need to work on cleaning that. Okay. So he goes, he really wants to know. And he's shoveling manure. And this goes on for a long time. And a long, long time, 8 years, I believe, in the story. And finally, he gets a summons from the master. And he says, Master, please, what is the meaning of life? And he said, there is only God, and thou art that. And he goes, I could have saved myself years of shoveling manure if I'd have just gotten it. And yeah, he said, well, you weren't ready for it at that point. So that's kind of the meaning, I think. Ultimately, though, in different languages and says it differently, but the mystics, the great teachers and sages, teach us that, and all these different traditions. When it gets down to it, there is only that absolute true nature, God, whatever that is, and we are that. We are part of that. We are an expression of it. Wow. Okay. So I've been doing a lot of conversations over the last couple of years with A.H. Almas, Ali Hamid, who's we feel is one of the great sages of all time. He's a teacher, he's written many books. He has the school where he teaches called the Diamond Approach. And anyway, it's quite amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, go to Deep Transformation, A.H. Almas, and you'll see, all of these conversations. Probably start at one and work your way up. And that's basically, what he's saying. And that you have, you struggle, you pray, and when it gets down to it, when you get it, it just seems like grace, It's like you can't meditate your way to enlightenment. It's like, he told that to Roger Walsh, my co presenter on the podcast, and he's like, he spent so much of his life meditating. He really can't, you can't do it, be good enough. You can't meditate enough. You can't pray enough. When you get it, it just seemed like, of course, it was always there. Oh, thank you. And instead of getting, you know, inflated now that you're enlightened and all that stuff, there's a deep humility and love and compassion. And Hamid once said, without compassion, there is no realization. So if you see these teachers that, are really smart and seem to be able to, create states of consciousness and stuff like that, if there's no real compassion, they're not, that's not enlightenment. Because in some of the traditions, once you get to that mountaintop and you realize there's only God and thou art that, experientially, it's not just a head trip, but completely in your own being. Once you realize that, you just kind of dissolve into God, or dissolve into, the little ego goes away, and, it's great. But not according to Hamid. Okay. And he says, that's just the next chapter, the next part of the journey. And the next part of the journey is bringing that realization back into the world and being of service. And I asked him one time, I said, what about all these teachers that, claim to be enlightened, or whatever the term they use, and they just act like hell, Do you think these people are enlightened? And he said, well, John, what do you think? I thought, no. He said, there it is. So you have to, it's a realization, okay? And Hamid recently said that God is a flasher, which is pretty funny. But anyway, that oftentimes we get these intuitions in very quick flashes. Certainly happened to me. And then we have to take that realization, the grace that we've been given to understand what our true natures are, what we truly are. And then we have to actualize it, going back into the world to do what we're called to do, our individual purpose. Maybe it's being a parent. Maybe it's being a good friend. Maybe it's being a teacher. Maybe it's being a doctor. Maybe being a bus driver. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are walking around that are, I would say, enlightened, that you never even know about. They're just there. They don't talk about it. So, yeah. So once you have the realization, there's only God and thou art that. Again, not an intellectual trip, but an actual full-bodied, full spirit. Your soul gets it. Then you have to do the work to work through the veils, and work through the traumas, and work through your ideas about reality and all that stuff. You have to just peel that away, so that that which you are can actually come through you, and it doesn't get hung up on the shadow stuff that you haven't been willing or able to deal with. So just when, it's, the top of the mountain is not the end of the journey. It's just the beginning of a whole new chapter in the journey. And I'll finish up with this. This is a prayer I heard one time, and I don't know where I got it, but it stuck with me. And it says, God help me to remember in the valley what I learned on the mountaintop. You got to bring it back home. And if you guys know the 10 ox herding pictures in our meditation room in Utah, we have that. It gives you 10 stages of growth. I think it was maybe 13th century, the 12th century came up. It was a Zen thing. And he goes through all this stuff and all these different pictures. And finally, there's just, this Japanese circle, it's like, thou art that, right? And the last one is the guy, in this case, a guy, it could be a cow, is going back into the world, into the marketplace with open heart, open hands. So the realization, that's not the end, it's just the beginning. And sometimes we have to work very hard to get there. So it's important that we do that work, and we find communities that will support us to do that, because the world needs people that have gotten that there is only God, and I am that. I'm an individual expression of that, and I have a calling to bring it into the world. And it will be revealed as you go what path you're supposed to walk. One last little thing. It's a thing I learned from the Native Americans in prayer in VisionQuest. Kind of brings us all together and gives us the right attitude. So when you're on VisionQuest, you're out there fasting and going through all this stuff and asking God or the Great Spirit to give you a vision. So use the prayers, Great Spirit, have pity on me that my people may live. Have pity on me. Show me my walk. Show me what I'm supposed to do. Show me my meaning. Show me my purpose. What? So I can be enlightened and have a good time? No, so that my people may live. And then you learn what your people are. And that just keeps expanding and expanding to what your people are until it's just everything. It's the dog, it's the cat, it's the clouds, it's the river, it's the ocean, it's the fish, it's the birds. I could go on, of course. It's all that. So to do this so I can be of service and help my people. Oh, thanks for being here, and God bless you guys. We keep opening yourselves up for grace. It God is faithful.